Hey, Doom here, Dungeons and Doom Biscuit, one half of the Dungeon Swag team, and I have the spit primered, and it seems kind of shiny, but maybe it's okay. It doesn't feel too sticky. I had an interesting thing happen. That wasn't dry all the way when I clear coated it, so I hit it with a hair dryer, and it kind of made a bubble and gave it a nice new texture, better than the original texture that I had. So I was pretty happy with it, and I left it. So we're going to start by painting all of the inside of this dark gray, and this is Pavement by Apple Barrel, which is like a Walmart craft paint. And we're going to paint the rocks too. The outside of the rocks, make sure you get every spot, because we're going to be lightening those up significantly. The inside, I'm not worried about as much. And I'm also not really worried about the fire, or the wood, I mean, because that's going to be like a couple shades of brown and some gray and black, because it's on fire, you know. Now, when you're doing these rocks, well, we'll cover this, but when you're doing these rocks, there's an important thing you're going to have to learn about quickly, and that is that the inside of rocks glow when you have a fire, and that takes a certain amount of thought if you're going to paint that. Look, I missed some of this spray coat out here. Get under these rocks and make sure they're gray and not white. Poorly chosen move. Chris should have checked it first. All right, so the inside of the campfire area is gray. The rocks are gray. Now let's do some of our brown stuff we got to do. So we're just going to get this burnt umber. Yes, that is a horrible Amazon truck backing up across the street. Those are really obnoxious. Sounds like someone's killing an electronic duck. Alright. I'm going to come around the outside and paint the ground brown. And try to ignore the Amazon dying electronic duck in the process. Oh my favorite guy named Mr. Pie. Oh, that's not good. I have some giant 12-inch action figures my sons grew out of, or weren't interested in anyways. I don't know if you ever can grow out of action figures. I love action figures. But anyways, they donated them to my cause, and I don't have a plan for them just yet, because most of them are like Spider-Man and stuff, and I'm not going to be able to really do anything too creative with a 12-inch non-posable guy whose arms turn a little bit and maybe his head turns a little bit or something too. I just don't feel like there's going to be a lot of options there for me as a great crafting project. But I'm also the same person that likes to do things on the cheap, so I'm not going to turn down the opportunity to possibly make some ridiculous Ocean Strider or Titan miniature that could, you know, be the payoff for fun. I have repainted miniatures for people before. Years ago, I had a buddy who asked me to repaint G.I. Joes and to customize them. So I went and I bought some. I had a couple G.I. Joe guys, and I bought a couple more. And I took some apart and customized them, and I made them look like a modern military unit. And I tried to paint them the best I could to look like a small group of friends we had, because that's what he had wanted. And it turned out pretty good. I wish I had taken a picture of it. It was back in a different time when, you know, the internet wasn't around to brag about everything you did. You know, back then you just kind of did stuff, and that's how it was. So I think we pretty much got all that covered that we need to cover. Let me wash out my brush. Let's hit this with a blow dryer and start doing. The last thing we do is like the heat stuff, by the way, and the meat. Like all the other stuff we can do kind of like in the sections, but the heat and the meat, that's the parts that are going to be more difficult to, and we're going to have to probably use smaller brushes for that kind of stuff too. Alright, so if you remember correctly, this is just some stones and some sticks and some toothpicks and a piece of foam. This is nothing you can't do. This is an easy thing that anyone can do, and you don't need to be a trained professional. You just need to have a little bit of patience and a little bit of a acceptance that you're not going to do perfect every time. That's all you need to be doing this. This is not rocket science here. This is easy business, and you can do it. I know you can. So we're lightening up our rocks. We're going to start on the outside, and we're just going to lighten them up some. So it's important that we don't lighten up the inside too much, because there's going to have to be some black and charred portions in there, right? Because this is a fire burning in here, and it's fire that's hot enough to cook on. So let's get in here just lightly, and give some little color delineation to the ground and stuff in there, so it looks like ashes. And let's come back outside one more time and just make sure we've lightened these up enough to be what we want. If you're getting a little bit on your brown, it's not going to kill you. Okay, so that's kind of where we are now. Let's get another little shade of gray lighter. This is called Country Gray, and I feel like it's got kind of a blue tint to it, but my eyes aren't what they used to be, I don't think, when it comes to looking at color and stuff. So I could be wrong. We're going to mix those together and make this lighter color, and we're going to get it pretty light. And then you can, if you have, I can't even think English words today. If you have like a thing to test where your dry brush technique is going to go, it helps to see how bright it's going to be. So mine's going to be real light. And I'm just going to come around here and touch the tops of some of these rocks, and the outsides only, none of the insides. I'll come back around and hit them again, make them light. All right. Let me set that aside. We're not going to use that. I just was showing it to you. The other thing you can do is you can pull a piece of cardboard apart and show the corrugations, and use that to test your dry brushing, and that works really well too. So dirt is not all one color. I've said this 1,000 times, and I'll say it 1,000 more. So what I'm doing here is I have this acrylic, or same crap, Walmart crap, and this is a lighter brown called melted chocolate. And I'm just wiping a lot of that off, and I'm going to come around here and touch with some of the loose bristles and stuff, just some of the outer dirt. Okay, I'll make that a different color. And then I'm going to get one more color. Let me get a little bit of that on my brush. I'll get one more color. I'm going to lighten that up again and do it. And this is khaki. I have a lot of browns over here. You would not believe how many browns I have that I just don't use. So I want to get this all over my brush, but wipe a lot of it off, and I want to hit the wood up. And I don't want to hit every part of the wood. I just want to kind of, okay. Let's lighten that wood up some. We can hit that campfire a little bit too, but not too much. Okay. Get that lightened up. And then we want to lighten that up again with this. And we want to take this down to a dry brush almost. Then we want to come back and hit everything again along the top where the light could hit it. And then we want to really focus on the insides, because the light's going to be brighter on the inside, right? Because there's a fire in there. And we're going to lighten that up one more time and do that again. More so focusing on the inside of the fire area, just touching it, lightening it up. I'm going to hit these sticks a little bit. They're going to be lightened too. Okay. Now we're going to do this. Get it even lighter. And we're going to touch some of that dirt around the outside, around the outside, around the outside. We're going to wipe all that off so it's barely leaving anything. And we're just going to kind of hit some spots to give it some different wood texture, a little bit around. And where this is lighter inside, we're going to hit that pretty good too. Okay. Get underneath here real good with the wood. Get on the inside real good with the wood. Lighten it up. Now we have something like that. Now the meat might not be fully cooked. Oh, we gotta hit this campfire wood a little bit to give that something different, so it doesn't all look the same. All right, let's wash that brush out. Let's get a smaller brush. Crappy brush still. We are doing some pink, I think. Do I have pink? I'd have pink. Oh, that's an ugly pink. But I have a plan for that. Let's get a little bit of this dab of that ugly pink. That's hideous. It's like Pepto-Bismol. I'm going to thin this, not thin it, but wipe a lot of that off. And I'm going to come in here and touch some of this meat around the stick. Do the same thing again on the other side. Get a lot of that off. And this is not the final move for this meat, I promise you that. We are going to come back with a little bit of red speed paint and hit the pink part again on the edges of the meat so that it has some depth. All right, now we want to get our black back out. Oh, we haven't even used black yet, have we? No, we have not. All right, you want a little lid or something that you can do this with, or a little piece of plastic. I have these little lids I keep finding around my house. And if you don't have any laying around your house, that's okay. So I want to make that pretty wet, pretty thin. And then I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to touch the insides of these rocks some to make them a little darker, because they're charred. And then the wood down towards the bottoms and those little rocks in the bottom, I'm going to touch some of those spots, but not all of them. I'm also get a little bit in the holes in the bottom of this too, like in the flat spot. We're just kind of making that look a little dark. We're going to hit this with I'm going to wash my brush, we're going to hit it with the air. And we're going to come back and look at how we can do our red. So you don't want the darkest red, and you don't want a bright red. So if you have something kind of in the middle, that's where it would be more ideal. All right, so I have here, this is called Cardinal Crimson. Let's take a look at it. Ooh, I got paint inside my lid. Cardinal Crimson. This is a craft paint. I don't know. I think it's apple barrel yet again. And what we want to do with this is we want to get a good amount to where we're not actually painting. We're just leaving some in, and we're just going to touch that black area we just did around the inside of the rocks and some of those little spots inside. Okay. Just touch some of those little spots inside and get a little bit on your logs. That's okay too. Now I'm not going to do a fire effect on these logs. I just don't want to put that kind of effort into this. I'm trying to make this like grand total of like, I don't know, no more than 45 minutes or an hour to make a nice campfire like this. And so what I did is I came in here and I got red everywhere. Now we're going to do something similar to that now with orange. So this is just called jack-o'-lantern. It's the same kind of deal. It's just a crappy craft paint from Walmart. And we're going to wipe a lot of that off. Then we're going to come back in and kind of touch those same areas again, but not as deep and not as hard. We're just going to brush against them. We're going to lighten that up in some spots. The goal here is not to paint this. And if you hit some new spots with this, that's completely fine too. Don't think that it's not. Okay, so we've lightened it up. Now we're going to get a yellow. And we're going to do the same exact thing. Put some paint in here. I used to take really good care of my stuff and clean it up and put it away. And I've gotten super lazy. And I just want to craft and paint and not have to worry about it anymore. So with this, we're going to do it once mixed with that orange. And we're going to make it real light. We're going to come in and touch everything again and lighten it up a little bit. There we go. Now when you hit this like kind of like breaking point here where you've lightened up significantly, That's where it starts to look like this is glowing in here. A little bit. So this is like that payoff moment where you're starting to see a little bit of a glow. I'm going to wash my brush out before I come back and get more yellow. I'm going to dry it off some. I'm going to hit this with a hairdryer. +2 heat gun of burning. Some yellow. We're going to wipe a lot of it off, and we're going to have to do this twice probably. And now we're going to touch the furthest points inward. Not the whole thing, just the furthest points inward. And this is real thin, so we're going to have to do it twice. And you want to hit a good bit of the rocks and stuff underneath with that, this hotter yellow. We're going to hit it with the hairdryer again. We're going to do the same thing with that yellow. We're just wanting to hit some spots with this and really bring that out. And it gives it a little bit of a glow. And it's nothing spectacular and it's not game changing, but it gives it a little bit of a glow. Alright, our meat. We don't want our meat to be the same color as our stick, right? So I'm going to get a little bit of lighter brown. And this is called chestnut, and it's got a dab of orange or red or something in it. And we're just going to turn this into a quick, almost like a dry brush, but not a real dry brush. When I think of a real dry brush, like I want my paint to be almost chalky and it's only catching the barely touching anything. And if I calculated this at all correctly, that pink should show through a little bit on the along the flanks, and it does a little bit. All right. Hit that with a hairdryer. We're going to get some of this red speed paint and come around the edges here. Just get that part of the meat. There we go. And then we're going to get some of this yellow speed paint, and we're going to do our campfire area down here. There we go. Hit the inside of the rocks a little bit. Hit the logs a little bit. Get some down on the floor and those stones down there. And where it's dark, it'll stay dark, and otherwise it'll give it some pizzazz. Make sure you get a little bit on your logs in some spots too. Maybe the end of one, stuff like that. Alright, so if we're looking at this, the ground is a little plain, so I'm going to get some some clear glue. I'm just going to put a little dab of that on here. I got plastic, yeah. I know that's not plastic, I just call it plastic. Alright, we're going to get a cheap brush. You can use a Q-tip, you can use a piece of cardboard, whatever you want, but I'm just going to add some flock around here in some spots and not others. A little bit of extra glue on your project can only be a good thing, right? And I'm going to add this. So let's pop this off of here. Ugh. We can scrape that off later. Let's dip it in here and get some of this fall leaves stuff on here. Oops. And we can take the excess and just kind of brush it away. And then this stuff isn't like your bright green, vivid, fancy grass. This is kind of dead and lifeless, right? So that helps our cause. We're trying to sell an effect that this is a campfire. So likely, underneath this campfire and around this campfire, you're not going to have the brightest, greenest grass. So let's hit this with a hairdryer again and knock off some of that loose flock that I didn't get with the air, or that I didn't get. Okay. Now anything else that's on here, the clear coat's going to seal up pretty well, so we don't have to worry about that. And there's a little bit of glue under here yet still. There we go. It wasn't laying flat. So something like that. Let's hold it up and get a better look. Not bad, not great. It'll do for the table though, right? I think that we should lighten that up a little more, that meat. So I'm just going to get that brown, and I'm going to thin it out some, or drag it out some, and I'm going to make that meat a different color. Let's bring it down one more. Because I think it would look better. And I actually think the spit stick would look better, kind of browner too, lighter too. So I'm just going to mix a little bit of this up and tone that down a little bit all over. Just the spit stick, not the uprights. I'm just going to tone that down and make that lighter. Yeah, I think that looks better like that, honestly. Let's do that again. Lighten it up one more time. This is not a good dry brushing brush for sure. Just gonna be careful. Lighten it up. Something like that. All right, cool. All right, guys. That's about as long as I want to go there. I think we're somewhere between 20 and 25 minutes. This is Doom from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit, one half the Dungeon Swag team. This is the +5 cleaver of liking and subscribing. And if you want a discount on some free miniatures, check out my discount code in my description there. And have an awesome day. Thanks for watching.